Hey guys, welcome back to the Third Perspective podcast. This will be episode 38. I'm Corey. He's Such. Such, how you doing?
I'm good. How about you? You good?
I'm not quite as good as you are, apparently. It's not too bad,
Yeah,
though.
I'm good, man.
Awesome. So we have Mr. Matt Devine back in the studio. Now, it seems almost fitting as Mr. Devine was our first guest and is now going to be our first returning guest. So, Matt, how are you doing?
I'm fine now that I'm talking to you boys. I always enjoy jumping onto this podcast. You guys I say to people all the time, check them out. You guys do an amazing job. Great questions, great conversation. So I'm happy to be back.
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, very much appreciate that. So, in this episode, I wanted to talk about the next step. And what I mean by that is you accomplished something that honestly most people are only going to dream about previously, including the actual event itself, which we talked about in our previous episode, as well as the fundraising, as well as all the awareness that you brought, and everything else. And you're wearing your Whisper to a Roar shirt, which is a YouTube documentary regarding that trip. If anybody hasn't seen it, we'll link it down below, but you definitely got to see it. Search it. It's a fantastic thing to watch in support of Little Warriors. But you have something else coming up. And I was thinking to myself, this man has nothing else left to prove. What's he doing? So why don't you bring us up to speed?
Yeah, so after the last ride that I completed last summer, I honestly thought I was done. I was quite broken in many ways, mentally and physically, and I'm getting older. It's hard to say that, but I am. But I took some time off, and as the shirt says, I heard the whisper coming back, and I talked to my wife, and I talked to some friends and some supporters, and mental health is a tricky monster. You've always got to keep up the fight. So for me, I knew I needed to find something else that wasn't going back to work. It was finding that higher purpose. We met with a charity called Little Warriors, and yeah, man, I walked out of there with tears in my eyes. There's nothing more impactful than walking into a place that treats children who have been sexually abused, and you see the little handprints on the walls, brothers and sisters, and the walls are covered. And to hear the stories of what these kids go through. So I looked at Nicole and I said, yeah, we got to go back out. And there's nothing I can do to beat the 12,500 kilometer bike ride. And I'm not here to be that guy that's just always trying to show himself off as an endurance athlete. But what I thought I could do is I'll go back out, I'll cycle about 10,000 kilometers, and I'll stop in every major city, 13 major cities along the way. And I want to engage with people in the community. I want to talk about purpose. I want to talk about mental health, and I want to talk about physical health. And I want to talk about how those three things come together. And if we as a community can embrace that, maybe we can help these amazing charities. And for me, that's the purpose again. But I live by fitness. It helps my mental health, and I want to share that mission with other people out there. So I'm going to go back out, and I'm going to engage as many people as I can. And I'll be very blunt with you guys. If I have to stop for a day to talk to people and I'm giving them some knowledge that's going to help them, I'll do it, and I'll just pedal harder the next day. So last year was all about getting from point A to point B. This year I'm going to do it, but I'm going to do it in a way that allows me to engage the community and help this charity.
Yeah, I think that's an awesome idea. I think.
Now,
Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was just saying. I think that's a really good idea, man. Like, not putting all kinds of pressure on yourself, and I think engaging with the community is the fundamental purpose, anyway, right? Like, how else are you or any of us able to share anything if we don't talk to people? So I think that's an awesome idea.
Yeah, and I'll tell you guys, I was very honest with you guys in the last episode I did. I'll be very blunt with you guys. The last time I went out, I had an ego. I wanted to be the man that was riding across Canada. And, there's going to be a video release shortly that is very raw, I break down in the video because, you know, in day one of that ride, I thought I was an imposter. I didn't think I was the guy that should be out there. I wrote a check my body wasn't going to be able to cash. At the end of the day, I somehow did it. But it was all initiated from ego. You know, it really was. I just wanted to regain some relevance, and that was my answer. So to Satch's point, upon reflection, who cares if I go out and cycle 12,501 kilometers and I do it 2 days faster? Nobody's going to look at that and all of a sudden think differently of me. I've done what I've done, and I've written that script. Now I've got to do it for all the right reasons. And I really hope that this story that I'm about to tell reflects that, because it will be a heartbreak for me, because I think this might be my last one. And if I don't represent the man I want to be this time, I failed myself. And I mean that with the utmost sincerity. I really did go out with a big ego, and I was humbled. This time I don't want to be that guy.
So you're looking more for the message rather than the journey this time, if I'm hearing you correctly.
Yeah, I want to put the cause and the people that I interact with ahead of what's in it for me. You know, if I thought I could get more attention for the charity, if I could influence people to be fitter and happier and healthier by going that extra kilometer, I would. But I know that's not the case. That type of event is for a different sort of reason. What I need to do now is go and tell people my truth. And my truth isn't pretty. It's not an endurance event. My truth is, you know, I suffer from mental health. I struggle just as much as you do. Some days I wake up and the gray's overwhelming, but I have tools and I have methods that I use to try to fight every day. And I said to you guys the first time we talked, every day is a decision. You either go or you don't go. You know, Satch knows what I'm talking about. The neat thing about endurance events is they are a reflection of life. Every day you can get up, you can put your shoes on, and you can go out and train. Every day you can get up, put your clothes on, and you can go out and try to become a happier person by fighting the fight. And that's what I want to show people. But there is no magic bullet here. I'm just going to be very truthful and honest with people as I go.
Yeah, it's fantastic. What brought you to this particular charity? You said you were in there, you saw the handprints, spoke to the people. What about this, or what was it about this that drew you to it?
Yeah, you guys are going to make me break down here, aren't you? This is about the 5th time I've cried on video. Everyone's going to think I'm a big baby, but listen, when you walk into the when you walk into the ranch, one of the first things you're going to see is what they call the quilt closet. These quilts are made for these children. And as they walk in, they're given these quilts because they're showing up at this ranch, and in so many cases with absolutely nothing. They're walking into a strange world with strange people after going through a horrific experience for who knows how long. And they're handed this quilt, and that quilt stays with them. It's the only possession they have in that moment. And they're stepping into this very scary world to start a very long road of treatment and healing. You know, when you see that, when you hear that story, it's just put yourself in that position. As an adult, I would be scared. I'm in a foreign place with foreign people, and I'm going through a process that I don't understand. And believe me, I didn't ask for it. Someone that, in some cases, in most cases, who loved me, abused me. Then you walk into the treatment rooms, and the one that got us was the art room, and you see little handprints on the wall. These are kids that have went through the process, the treatment. Some of them are brothers, some of them are sisters, some of them are no longer with us because they've committed suicide. So yeah, it's gut-wrenching, and it's epidemic right now. They treat on average, I think it's 40 kids are admitted, double that. That's how much
Wow.
there is of this in our society, and it doesn't seem to get worse. And let me be really kind of clear on this. For anybody who thinks this is not a societal problem, think about this. Kids who do not get treatment, think of drug abuse, think of mental health down the road, think of homelessness. Every dollar we spend now to treat these kids and stand them back up is many, 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 many dollars saved down the road. So for me, and then we as a society need to start embracing each other, because man, we have a lot of problems right now. You hear it every day with drug addiction, suicide, homelessness. If we don't as a community embrace each other and say, we got to fight the fight here, folks. And I'm talking not only about the individual, I'm talking about corporations. Healthy community, healthy business, healthy world. We need to start to change the way we think. We need to start to change the way we think about charity. And we need to start fighting the fight, because it's just getting worse.
Hmm. When you mention we need to change the way we start thinking about charity, what do you mean by that? Like, what is charity to you, and what about it that needs to be changed?
Well, and I'm not here to run any charity down. I'm not here to attack charity. Every charity does a good thing. What I want to do is, instead of raffling big homes and new cars, I want I want to create a much simpler world where we can create communities who work together. Satch is doing a great job of this, where these communities come together and we work together to raise money for these charities. Because what people don't understand is that when we do that, we're giving ourselves purpose, we're giving ourselves relevance. And the feelings that we get, the feedback that we get from that is so much more powerful than buying a lottery ticket. And again, I'm not attacked, because we all know who they are. They're big charities that sell big homes and cars. And listen, if that's helping a child, or if that's helping a person, let's keep going with it. But we as a society can do so much more. One individual like Satch, one individual like myself, can unite a team around them, can ask the corporations out there to help, and we can raise a lot of money. And I feel not only does it help the individual doing that work, but so much more money goes to the charity. So much more money goes to the charity. And I think we can do a hell of a lot better. And I'm being very honest about that without trying to attack that not-for-profit sector.
Mm-hmm. Such, what are your thoughts?
I agree. I mean, that's kind of been my sort of perspective too. Like, when it comes to charity, I wanted to find for myself a way that I can get involved in something that'll give me some purpose, that'll, raise some money, that I can see where that money's going, and then that impacts people fairly quickly. And for me, I've noticed how it's helped me, man. Like, just I was never a volunteer. I never did anything when it came to charity, right? And but I would, let's say, buy a lottery ticket, or maybe I would put some money in this to maybe win a house, whatever it is, right? And what I recognize for myself is, like, I wasn't thinking about the charity at all. I was thinking about what I was going to get if I put in for that. And I think if you were to sit back and think about that for a second, that takes away a little bit from the focus of why we're doing the thing. So I wanted my hands to be in the dirt. I wanted to feel it and actually get involved. And for me, that's the difference. I don't want to throw money, but I want to throw my time, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Totally. Matt, I've got a question for
Yeah,
you
what
here. Just go ahead.
I was just going to say one thing to Satch's point. I consider myself, and I'm sure Satch would say the same thing, I consider myself a charity accelerator. We don't cost anything. We initiate these endeavors on our own. We create our own community. We get our own sponsorship, and we raise money. And it doesn't cost the charity nothing.
Mm-hmm.
All I've done is I've bolted onto a charity and I've accelerated their cause. And when I'm done, I can decouple and go to the next one, or I can stay with that one. I love the idea of what Satch is doing, of what I'm doing, and I love to think of it as an accelerator. It's like a booster on your car. You put it on the engine, you get an extra 20 horsepower for 6 months. That's what I want to do for this charity. I want to be their accelerator.
Or how I like to call. I love that you said that, man, because I have a term for it too. And I mean, for those military people or veterans or first responders, you'll know this phrase. We're force multipliers, man. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
We're force multipliers. We're multiplying the force of a bunch of people together, bringing it together, and then expanding it. And man, like, I'm just reflecting on me for a second. Bear with me for a second, because I was talking about this the other day with a friend of mine. Just through myself, just from social media and me running a little bit here and there, since I've been doing this, at this point right now, we've raised about $75,000 just as an individual, running around. Now that shows the power of one person. And not even the brightest person. There's so many other people who can do it better. So I mean, like, we could do so that I just want to highlight that, like, and look, how much did you raise, man, when you were on your ride? Like, in one individual, I mean, what was, like, over 100K or something? Like, it was crazy. Like, it's crazy, man. Like, what one person can do.
Yeah, what I'll say to that is, it's like the old adage that, if you skip a stone through a pond, the first one creates a major ripple, and then as it gets further, it starts to lighten up. Well, what we want to do is try to maintain that first skip. And the easiest way to do that is to remove everything in between the charity and the source of the dollar. I want that dollar, all of it, to go right to that charity. The money flows through our story, goes right into the charity. We don't even have a not-for-profit. We just have literally a name, Heroes Unleashed. That dollar flows through and goes right into the charity's bank account. And if we slim that out, it's no longer, only 80% or 70% goes to the charity. No, every dollar I raise goes right to the charity, 100%. I beg them to be very efficient with that dollar, because I don't want our hard work to get whittled down because of administrative costs. But most of the charities that I work with are not like that. They're lean, they're efficient, and they have good returns. And the cause is right. I mean, that's the other thing. So that's kind of our philosophy. And that goes back to the question, so what's different about this? And I think if you sit back and contemplate on what we just said, you'll see the difference is quite clear.
Now, my question to you, Matt, is specifically to what you guys have both been talking about accelerating, about being that force multiplier. Do you also feel that by doing this and being who you are, that you're actually acting as an accessibility for that charity? Because when we think of things like what Little Warriors is doing, it's a heavy topic. It's desperately needed, and it desperately needs to get out there, but it's such a heavy topic that to get somebody to go on a website or to go in and help out or anything like that, it's very daunting. Whereas you being out in the community, doing this ride and doing these movements in these cities, I can come up to you, I can interact with you, and now, absolutely, what do you need me to do? You need me to donate money? Absolutely. Where do I do that? It's just a lot easier. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so this is a really important question. So this subject is very difficult to talk about. And I don't want to use the word cringe, but it's the first thing that comes to my mind. You cringe when you hear these stories. But you know what? So is mental health. So is a 56-year-old man talking about mental health cringy. It's what people like me and Satch try to do is become gateways to communication. I'm going to tell you my honest story. I'm going to represent the charity as best as I can. I am not an endurance athlete. I'm an average Joe who did something pretty incredible, and I say that proudly. But I'm pretty sure that if you stacked me up against 100 cyclists, I'd probably finish 99th. But I was doing it for the right reasons, and I want to show people that none of these topics are taboo. We need to talk about them. We need to talk about what the charity does, and we need to talk about mental health, and we need to show people a path forward. And here's the exciting thing: when I meet guys like Satch and myself, and I talk to the charity, what I say is this: tell a really, really interesting story and the dollars will come. You know, sometimes when a charity represents itself, people just shut down. What I try to do for the charity is say, I'm going to write a story here and it's going to look it's going to look really interesting. It's going to be ugly at times, it's going to be motivating at times, it's going to be inspirational at times. But if you'll turn your eyes and look at my story, are you okay if I introduce the concept of why I'm doing it? And not everyone, but some of those people are going to say absolutely, and I want to support them. And that's my goal.
I wanted to jump in real quick because I heard you say something that I think I want to refine and kind of share, because you said you're just an average Joe, and I think there's something to that, in the sense of, bro, you're an average Joe, you like anybody else, and look what you did last year because of purpose.
Mm-hmm.
So now
Yeah.
for me, I would consider myself as an athlete. And if you give me enough time, I can get shit done from a physical perspective. So, I give you more kudos, because you are that average person. You had a purpose that drove you to ride 13,000, like just some dude off the road, So there is something to be said about that. And I think what people need to understand is, if you have that purpose as an average Joe, you can do the exact same thing that Matt just did. So I think that's a really important thing that needs to be highlighted.
Yeah, and I think that, and I don't want to oversell the term average Joe, because first of all, no one gets through these things. And I would even say yourself, Satch, there's going to be times where your athletic capabilities aren't going to be enough. I can tell you right now, my athletic capabilities weren't enough. There was a moment on the ride, and I'll feel it again when I go out this time, where there's a very, very special thing within us all. That's why I have this Heroes Unleashed entity, because I and you and everyone else has a capability to unleash this. And when we do, through positive mindset and attitude and determination and resilience, we can do incredible things. But a decision has to be made by every individual. Today, I'm going to conquer. Today, I'm going to get up and take one step forward. Life is going to smack you down every day. And as you get older, the slaps get harder. So you have to make a decision. Am I going to get up and fight today? And the moment you say no, it's the day you stop cycling. It's the day you stop riding. It's the day you stop going for those walks. You're going to get beaten. The gray's going to come in and it's going to take you. And I'm not saying for everybody that they have the issues that I have, but there's a big chunk of us out there that do. And I'm saying, folks, it's like a fight, and we're in it for the long run. So make the decision to get up and go, run that next marathon, ride that next Fondo, 100K, 200K, whatever it is. In the video that I just shot, and I'm going to be really honest with you guys. I can't give too much away because it's such an impactful video. But someone called out on social media, I won't say who, but someone called out and said, you better have Matt call me because he looks like he's broke. Day one of the ride, day two of the ride. I went so far on that first day, I put myself into a position where I thought I'd have to go to the hospital that night. I cycled 240 kilometers. My body went into full cramps. I thought I'd have to go to get intravenous, fluid. I was screaming like a wounded animal. And I saw the text for the first time of the person who wrote it, who sent it to Nicole, saying, you better have Matt call me because he's failing. He's giving up. And I'll tell you guys, it brought back a ton of emotion. Like I broke down because I thought, that feeling of writing the script in your head of how I'm going to quit and make myself look okay. I was writing it in my head. I was on that bike saying, how am I going to get myself out of this situation? And I can't imagine what I'd feel like sitting here with you guys today, telling that story if I did quit. And that right there is the greatest example of unleashing that inner hero. and making the decision to fight one more day. And one more day became 100 days. And in 100 days, I traveled 12,500 kilometers through the worst conditions I could imagine. And going back to Satch's point, anyone has the power not to cycle 12,500 kilometers. That's not what I'm saying. But everyone has that power to make those changes, to make that decision to fight one more day. One more day becomes a week, becomes a month, becomes a year. And you have to be your own advocate, folks, because if it's not you, it's nobody. So that's as honest as I can get about this stuff. There's a lot of tough people out there that can just get up and grind it out. We know them. I look at Satch. He's one of these guys that's just going to grind it out. But like I've said, there isn't a lot of the people out there who can just embrace the suck and love it. There wasn't a moment out there that I was smiling. I could tell you. I was like, every day I got to get up at 6 a.m. and cycle for 8 to 10 hours through everything possible. It was just the decision to go.
Yeah, I think it's perspective, man. Like to that point, yeah, I might be outside and enjoying it, but it still sucks. Like it's still hard, right? But for me, I could be at home like yesterday, and I had a huge cloud over my head yesterday. Like I didn't
Yeah.
want to get up. I didn't want to do shit because I'm not doing what I want to do or get out there or do the thing, right? So
Yeah.
it's just the perspective might be different. Like yesterday I'll talk about yesterday, see how I see and share my experience of yesterday. No freaking reason. Life is going in the direction I want it to, and things are unfolding as I kind of want them to. But I woke up with like an overwhelming sense of sadness and
Yeah.
and there were moments I would be just driving around, like going to the store, coming back, almost coming to tears for no reason.
Yeah.
Just having
Yeah.
that depression, right? That depression. So now, a year or 2 years ago, that would have been a bad day. But through constant effort, reflection, and working towards betterment, I've created tools. And not
Yeah.
before I even need the tool, I can recognize that something's happening and I understand that this thing is the thing. Nothing's wrong. I'm just feeling a certain way. So now we're going to have to counteract this thing. So you start applying the tools, which I kind of did, and I felt better. And eventually by the end of the day, things were good. But everybody feels it. So, if people are watching this or listening to this, I want people to also understand, man, I'm not a Superman. I feel like shit more often than not. But when I'm
Yeah.
outside and I'm running and I'm doing whatever it is, I feel better doing that rather than not, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, what I tell people is that you have to figure out strategies and methods and processes that work for you. For me, and I think for a lot of people, it's been proven quite substantially now that physical fitness, diet, nutrition, sleep all play a huge part in your mental health. And what I will say is that there is a difference in guys like us that love this endurance stuff. We hate it, but we love it. The biggest compliment I got was you guys talk with Jody a couple of weeks back. She was here staying with us. She was down teaching some kettlebell stuff. And I was on my trainer down the stairs. And she was in the other part of the basement doing one of her online sessions. And I was grinding on the trainer, and I was deep into it, and you could hear me breathing. And I got off the bike, and I said to her, "I'm super sorry. I hope I wasn't too loud while you were doing your training session." And you know what she said to me? She said, "Matt, I'm blown away." And I said, "By what?" She said, "Most people wouldn't go to that place when no one's looking." So that to me is the essence of what making that decision to fight and go forward is. It's that moment in time where there's no one around. No one's going to know that I'm going to do this. No one's going to know that I'm going to go to my basement and cycle hard today. When you get to that point, you've become that superhuman person, that Clark Kent that's doing this, not for attention, not for not for the ego. And I think, and the only brag I will say is that I'm becoming more of that person and less of the person that started the ride. And that's my proudest moment. Not the fact that I'm, a lot of people say at your age, you're capable of doing all these crazy physical fitness things. Yeah, I'm very pleased with that. But what makes me proud is that I think honestly, guys, like I'm becoming more of the person that's okay that I'm going to be doing this, and maybe the spotlight doesn't need to be on me all the time, but I can still go to that place and I can still grind it out. And the feeling, Satch, when you're in the deepest, darkest pit, that's every step hurts, and you can continue to grind it out. Man, you might as well bottle that up and sell it, because it's addictive. Because when you're done, you may be like, I'm so sore I can't walk. I'm folded over, but inside you're saying, I won. I'm fighting another day and I beat it. I'm 56 years old and I'm getting up and I'm grinding it out and I'm fighting every day. And you fucking tell me to slow down. Anybody tells me to slow down, shut up, get out of my way. And I talked to my doctor the other day and he said, you're damn right. Keep going, bro. Like, keep
No,
going.
you know what, man? That's like you were saying earlier. That's the metaphor for mental health too, right? Like you're in that hurt locker and you're grinding, you're grinding and grinding. It's another day. You can make it out. Like, and I think, at least for me, man, like I I'm chasing those feelings now when I'm out on a run or something, and if I start feeling, oh, this is going to be a bad one, or this is like I'm feeling it. I try to shift my mind into like, okay, chase that even more, because after I'm done, I'll I would have created more confidence, man, more self-worth, which helps with that depression. And that's really, for me, man, that's really a lot of it. It's like I need to feel good about who I am. And a lot of the times when I'm
Yeah.
going out there and doing something that I never thought I could do, I'm like, oh man, I feel pretty good. And I know everyone can do that.
Yeah.
Everybody can do that.
Yeah.
Now,
And it
Matt,
doesn't have to be, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Sorry, Corey.
Oh no, go ahead.
I was gonna, and it doesn't have to be 13,000 kilometers or 33 marathons. Anyone's battle, 5K, 10K, a block, it's all relevant, right? So fight the fight. That's all I can say. Like, let's
Got to start somewhere.
push it right in the face. Yeah.
Now, as you were saying too, that blocker, that 5K, that might be their 12,000 kilometer, right? If they're fighting through it and they're getting it done, then they're getting almost the same amount that you are from doing your extraordinary endurance events in their lives.
But to that point, I had to start with 5K. I didn't get to 22. Everybody has to start at that first one, man. And that grind, you fill that cup and you put it back in. You say, okay, what can I do tomorrow? And what can I do the day after? What can I do the week after? What can I do next year? That's what it's about. Always striving to do more and better. And everyone can do that. You don't have to be a special operator or some sort of tier one person. Everyone can do this. It's not exclusive to anybody.
Yeah. Now, Matt, I have a
And
question
think
for
about,
you though.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
That's okay. You've got so much gold. I don't want to ever interrupt you, but I do want to ask, because I know you talk about your struggles from the first journey that you did, and you're very open about them on the last podcast as well. But when you're talking about the benefit of struggle and the benefit of enduring and doing what you need to do on this journey, would you rather breeze through it or would you rather struggle through it?
I'll be very honest with you. I'm going to hurt just as much as I did the first time. There's no, I could train for 1,000 years. Once you start to cycle 100, 200 kilometers a day for 20, 30, 40 days. As a matter of fact, I'll be very blunt with you. The first event, my coach said to me, you're not training to ride across Canada. When you ride across Canada, you're training to ride across Canada. You can't experience what you're going to experience out there till you go through it. But here's the reality. I think that for folks like me and maybe Satch, there is an addiction to this, and it's the feeling of waking up on the day and saying, I have to cycle this far, climb this much elevation. And it's like you're going up against a monster that involves distance, it involves elevation, it involves weather. And it's addictive to win that. It's you win the day and you feel empowered. You may feel shitty at that moment when you cross the finish line, but boy, man, you get tough. Satch referred it to, that toughness. It's scarring. You're getting the emotional and the physical scarring, and you're becoming a tougher person. And as much as physical pain is rough, mental pain is worse, man. Mental health, when you're depressed, it's like I can't describe it. It's you can have everything going right, and you cannot breathe. You're lost. You're emotional. You can't listen to a song. You can't watch a show. You feel yourself crumbling inside. So for me, endurance events make me mentally tougher. They make me more capable of dealing with those days when they come, and hopefully they come fewer and fewer. And to be really honest, when I'm on the road like that and I'm giving a task and I'm giving this monumental thing that I have to do, whether it's 5K or 10,000K, it gives me such laser focus. No one's going to get in my way. It's funny because I remember now, after looking back on the documentary, there were days where I was sitting on the side of the road with my banana and my fluid. My bike was against the van, and there wasn't a car around. There wasn't one car. You would barely see an animal walk across some of these roads. It was so remote. It might have been plus 35, plus 33, big hills. And I look at the van and I said, I could just get in the van and no one would know. Nobody would know on this given day that I put my bike in that van and I shaved 100 kilometers off the day. Nobody would know and nobody would ask, to be honest. But I wouldn't get in the van. There's no way, because I know I might feel good physically, but mentally I'd crash. And that's the beauty of fitness and endurance. It is a pill that is more powerful than any drug you can imagine. I think that's my draw to the endurance side of things. It's like fighting, and I love the fight.
Such, would you rather, in your upcoming endeavor here, would you rather struggle or would you rather breeze through it? And is there value in struggle?
Okay, so I'll answer the struggle part. There's value in struggle, always. But I think the question you're asking, it would depend on my perspective and what my goal is for the run, right? So if I was just focused on executing against a run, then yeah, I want to push myself. I want to do, then it's all about that. But then you add another element, which is engaging with community, raising awareness, getting exposure, all the things that are associated to it. So I have to find the right balance. And for me, I didn't have any of that balance when I was running the 22 marathons, because I was sleeping 5 hours a night. Everything was on me. It was super challenging. So for this year, I've implemented some things that it will allow me to recover more. It'll allow me to start the days off with a bit more pep in my step, rather than starting with a not negative mindset, but a little bit less positive. And so I think what's the ultimate goal? The ultimate goal for me is to raise a shit ton of money and get everyone to know what's happening. I don't give a fuck about running. Sorry, I don't care about it. My goal is to get the awareness so we can raise the ton of money, and my vessel or my tool is the running. So I look at it a bit differently. And yeah, no matter what I do, if I'm running 60 kilometers a day for 52 days, no matter what, that's going to be hard. I could be the best athlete on the planet. That's still going to be hard, because I'm going to try to do it faster. So whatever your skill set is, you're going to do it the best of your ability at the time. So it's always going to be a challenge. So I try to set things out so that they're always a challenge for me. So for example, I'm not going to say I'm going to run 5K a day for the rest of the year. I mean, what am I going to do with that? It has to push the needle. So for me, it has to push the needle. So 60K, we're going to do it. And also it allows me to train for next year. And so I'm looking at it from a holistic and multifaceted way. How do I get the most out of these next 52 days?
Yeah. And the reason why I bring this up is because I know in my own life, looking back on things that I viewed as valuable or value added, there was an internal and an external struggle that always was present. Because if it was too easy, I almost dismissed it myself, and I think I came across to other people as dismissive. Now, I don't want to struggle every single second of every single minute, but I think that there's an authenticity that people see. Like I look at Matt's, struggles on his last ride, and I really resonate with that because I see an honesty into it rather than a polished Instagram look where every day it's like, hey guys, I'm 200 kilometers into my ride today. Like, I'm feeling great. Make sure you subscribe and, hit the like button and all the rest of it. And off he's going. Cause I'm like, is this real? Like, he doesn't even look like he's having a hard time. So that's why I'm saying,
Yeah.
like, is there a value in the struggle? I don't know. What are your thoughts, Matt?
Well, I think that one of the things I often say to the charities when I'm talking to them, you have to tell a compelling story. I don't resonate with these really extreme athletes who seem to have this special capability, because I don't feel the same way. I feel it feels rough for me when I'm on the bike for as long as I was. So for me, I want people who experience the same things I experiencing resonate. I want them to feel like they're connecting with me. So I want to tell a truthful, honest story without the Instagram polish. And I want people to understand that I'm hurting out there. There's no, some people, you look at them on Instagram and you say they're Superman. They're so fit. They're so powerful. They don't hurt, and there's an audience for that. But there's also an audience for the reality of this stuff hurts and it should hurt. But we can push through it and we can find benefit in it. And that's the people that I want to resonate with. I want them to look at me as, listen, I want to be a hero to somebody, but I want to be their hero for the right reasons. I want to be a hero because I suffer, I hurt, I have mental health issues. But I get up and I fight, and I'm the average Joe doing great things, hopefully. And that's the person that I want to be. There are people you look at, and I've got nothing but respect for them. They can run. I hear some stories. I watched about the lady that swam from Cuba to Florida. It's on Netflix right now. I couldn't get my head around it. Her achievement was so amazing. I couldn't get my head around it. What I want people to feel when they see my story is, you know what, this guy is like, he's relatable. I get it. Like he's struggling. He's had his issues. He still has his issues, but he gets up there and he does something pretty impressive. And I want to be just a little bit more capable of doing things like that. And that's the person I want to be. It's hard.
Yeah. Now, to that point, do you feel empowered now that you've become vulnerable to a bunch of people, or are you just kind of accepting it as a necessity of something that you do now that you're doing these things?
I'll be really blunt with you guys again. It's time for the truth. I try to be that superstar guy on Instagram. I wanted to create those Instagram moments. I'm not good at it. I'm pretty average. I'm pretty average to look at. I'm pretty average to listen to. I find what's amazing about me is the truth. My superhuman strength is the fact that I've got these flaws, and I'm going to be very honest about these flaws, but I'm still going to go out there and do something that I hope makes me a better person, and I hope inspires people. If you ask me, do you want to be an inspirational person? Yeah, I do. But I want to do it because I'm coming from a place of authenticity, and I'm coming from a place of transparency, and I've got flaws. I'm the anti-hero. I'm kind of that guy. I'm the anti-hero because, guys like me, I shouldn't be able to cycle 12,500 kilometers, but I did. So I'll tell you all about it if you'll listen, and hopefully I'll inspire you along the way.
I love it. such. How about for you? Do you feel empowered? I know you're fairly vulnerable on this podcast, and I've certainly seen you be vulnerable on other podcasts. Do you feel that enhances what you're doing, or do you just kind of accept it as a necessity as being in the public eye?
I don't think about it that much, to be honest. I'm just trying to be myself because if I thought about it too much, I might shift. Right? You know what I mean? I
Hmm.
just want to be myself. I want to be um I want to be positive. I want to be myself. I want to be authentic. I don't want to be contrived. So whatever comes out comes out. I try to present a positive image as much as I can, but with honesty. I try, I'll also realize that people watching, so I don't want to, have excessive swearing and all that kind of stuff. But from a authenticity perspective and vulnerability perspective, I'm just being myself, man. And for me, that's empowering for me. I don't know about anybody else, but for me, it is because um, for most of my life, I haven't been myself. I haven't authentically showed who I am to people. And it's only really been the last couple 3 years where I've built enough belief in myself that I won't be rejected by everybody, as long as I am happy with who I am. So my whole functioning most of my life was like, okay, I'm going to pretend to be a certain type of person. This is the type of mask I'm putting on because I don't want to be rejected by anyone, and I'm not going to give anyone the opportunity to reject me, even if I gave no opportunities. But now I'm taking a step back. I want to be myself, and I feel it very empowering now because I now know who I am,
Mm.
understand who I am, and I can step into that power and have a conversation with somebody from that without feeling any sort of attack or anything. So, authenticity, man. I'm on Matt's page at that.
Awesome. Matt, I have a question for you. Now, I wanted to focus a little bit more on the mental health side of your upcoming journey here and what you're trying to
Just sorry
highlight.
to interrupt. I'll be right back. I just have to grab something real quick.
Yeah, sounds good. But what I wanted to ask was nowadays mental health is fairly mainstream, as it were. It's quite a bit more out there than what it normally was. But how do you, from your standpoint, how do you focus on mental health and make it one of the priorities that you're doing without making it just be a buzzword? Like how do you not get lost in sort of the universe of this new enlightenment of mental health?
I think it's showing the reality of mental health. Like you can use words and you can use you know for lack of a better term, props. The stuff that's out there today. To your point, it's become very mainstream. The only way I'm going to be able to resonate with people or to connect with people is by you know putting something forward that they can relate to. So I can tell you that there are moments where Nicole may look at me and she'll say, "You're having one of those days." And I'll say, "Yeah, I am." There can be anything no more truthful than that moment. That's it. I can't say anything that's more scientific, that's more, you know, summarized in a way that is consumable. The only thing I can do is to tell people, today I woke up and I couldn't function very well. Here's what I did. And I can only point to a picture that shows a person holding a drink and a cigarette and say that was me. Just what I had to do to get out of it. I can show them a picture at my last work function and say the next day I resigned because I couldn't be in a crowd anymore and function. So the only thing I can do to make it stand out as being authentic and relatable to people is be as honest as I can and say, yeah, that guy that cycled 13,000 kilometers. Yeah, he woke up the other day and he couldn't, really get out of bed. He didn't feel like going to the gym. And I hope somebody, a single mom or an unemployed father or a person recovering from an addiction can hear that and go, yeah, that's how I feel. And I want to follow this guy's story. The only time I get down is when I tell these antidotes and I share my story, and social media and other forms of sharing, are very very I don't know how to describe it, but they're very real. And sometimes you tell the story and you don't know if you're resonating with people. You don't know if you're making sense. You don't know if your story is being enjoyed. And we talked before the podcast about how sometimes you feel like I'm talking and no one's listening. I'm not getting the results. I'm not getting the numbers. And all I want to know is that people out there, one person, 10 people listen and go, wow, man, I want to follow this guy. I'm never going to be Kim Kardashian, but as long as I'm helping some people, and that's all I look for. That's my buzz. That's my check mark. Yeah, I'm doing something that's making a difference, not only for the kids, but also for other people. So that's a long-winded response to your question, but that's how I try to make myself stand out from just the mainstream blah, blah, blah about mental health. It's real, and here's how I reflect it.
Mm.
Yeah, it can get lost, like I said, in that maelstrom of hashtags and everything else. And sometimes I feel that the true honest stories that are coming out there are getting lost in almost the fake honesty of things, where somebody comes out and says, I'm having a tough day. It's not as a result of mental health, but it kind of gets lumped into that same sort of genre. And I don't want important stories like yours to be lost in the chaos
Yeah.
of it all. Yeah. So it's something I'm trying to think of how that gets highlighted more so. But and I did want to touch base back on when you were originally on our podcast here about the fact of engagement, is that I don't think it's the Kim Kardashian quantity that you need, because
Yeah.
there is no engagement with those numbers. Nothing at all.
Yeah.
It's a half-second flick on TikTok where somebody's just going along and it counts as a view. It doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Somebody didn't sit there and listen to your story and really have it resonate with them. So I think from a bang for your buck standpoint, your quality is significantly higher than that.
Mm.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
appreciate that.
Yeah.
Sorry, Seth, go ahead.
yeah, I just wanted to jump in real quick, and so obviously we're on social media a lot and we're tracking it, and those things affect us from time to time, and I'm no different. And I think what really grounds me and really clears my mind and shifts me really quickly is reminding myself of this: it's either you're helping or you're not. So for me, it doesn't matter. Like all these likes and whatever, I'm helping, and it's helping
Yeah.
somebody, even if it's one person. Now I know that sounds so cliche, but if for me, I really gear down on that. Look, if I'm helping somebody, it doesn't matter if anyone likes a thing. So either in the social media space or in the three-dimensional space. So constantly, all the time, engaging with people. Doesn't matter if I'm on social media or in real life. This is all I do. This is how I talk,
Yeah.
and this is how I engage. And I know for a fact people are being helped. I'm good, man. I don't give a shit if I get any likes.
Yeah. One of the biggest differences for me, and I'm going to say this, I'm probably going to piss some people off, but that's okay. In the first event, I try to serve everybody. The people that shared a post or liked a post or maybe was on board, but then I lost them along the way. One of the things I've realized is that there is a community that's going to embrace me, and they're going to say, we are with you. And I'm going to focus on those people. And for those wannabe fly-by-nighters, fair weather folks, I don't care. You don't like me, you don't like me. You find me boring, I don't care anymore. There are people like you guys. There are people that we both know that are with me. I'm already hoping to hook up with some of them as I go across Canada. Everybody else who was there 1 minute and gone the next, I don't care anymore. They're not going to be my friends. They're not going to like me. They don't like the way I look. They don't like the way I talk. That's fine. Some people think I'm a jerk. I'm an asshole, whatever. I don't care anymore because, at a certain point, I want to focus on the folks that matter, and they deserve it more. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to focus on those people, and everybody else. I really hope you like me, and I really hope you follow the journey. But if you don't, you don't, and that's that. I can't do any more. And I know I've got a bit of baggage from the past, and people have the right not to like me. They honestly do. I've done some things in my past life and my professional career I'm not proud of. But give me a chance, give me a chance. Maybe I've changed, but if you don't, you don't, and that's the reality.
I want to jump in if you don't mind here. Bro, there are probably 10 to the power of 100 of people that don't like me because I was an asshole for most of my life. Straight up, man.
I'm still day to day with him, so I'm not sure.
We should start a club.
It's like, so hey, man, you're not alone in that. And trust me, there are a lot of people that I know that are pretty amazing people that weren't perfect. A lot of people weren't, right? And we've all made mistakes, and that's why we are where we are now. Because we've made choices and we wanted to make some shifts and we wanted to make some changes. And you said something that really reminded me of an experience that I want to share real quick. And it's all about these, friends or people that we're kind of connecting with and all these types of things, right? And you have friends from whatever career. At least for me, I had 18-year career in law enforcement. A lot of friends through that, but through time and me doing what I'm doing, those friendships have kind of dissipated, and I felt kind of lonely for a period of time where, I don't really have friends, or all the people that I communicate on social media, that's a social media thing, whatever, right? And then I went to Calgary a few weeks ago. Julia lives there, so I was visiting my girlfriend, and now I kind of have know some people out there. Now there's a guy named Mo. He's the president of Boots on the Ground Alberta. And so he invited us over for dinner. And then, we have dinner, whatever, and come back. And it was nice, I thought, like, it's a networking thing. In my head, these are the kind of thoughts that I'm having, right? And then I had an epiphany 2 weeks ago. He bought 2 tickets to come to the fundraising gala in Vancouver that I held on the 30th of March. And then he called me and he said, I bought 2 tickets. I'm flying out and I'm going to come attend the event. And then it hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, oh, he's my friend. Like that's a friend that I have, and I've cultivated a new friend. So then I had a whole new lens of what I've been doing. You're my friend, Matt. Right? And if you're my friend, that means you call me, I'm there for you. And if I call you, that's what friendships are meant to be. We support one another. And it really hit me like a ton of bricks. I have a bunch of friends that I didn't really even realize.
And this is a compliment to both you guys. I'm going to tell you a little story. Yeah, a couple of days ago, Satch posted about his shirt that he's using to raise funds, and the shirt looks amazing. I said to Nicole, we're gonna get some shirts and we're gonna wear them. We're gonna do a post. I'm gonna wear it while I'm riding. We're gonna make. Satch sent something back to me. He said, "Thanks, brother," and I said, "I got your back." Because here's the reality. I'm fighting to get my thing launched. Satch is fighting to get his thing launched. But I'm always going to try to support Satch. There's no competition. We are 2 brothers trying to do good things. And I know I'll only be better by helping Satch. And I know I'm going to benefit by being friends with Satch. And here's what I love about the third perspective. You guys are always the first to be there with the likes and the shares. And I can't tell you how much it means to me. I'll turn to Nicole and I'll say, look at these guys have shared this. And I can't tell you, like I want this podcast to boom, because the authenticity that I get when I interact with you guys is real. So, Satch said something to me the other day. He goes, hey, can you support me when I'm running the Calgary, Edmonton Calgary leg? That would have made my summer. Unfortunately, I'm already halfway to Newfoundland for that. But to be with a brother going through that experience, to someone who I understand how they feel at that moment, it would have meant the world to me. And I know for a fact, me and Satch are going to do something together. I might be supporting him. He might be supporting me, but we're going to do something together and we're going to tell that story. So you're right on, Satch. Like, what I've learned in the world is you only get better by being surrounded by good people and supporting them. And I gotta let go of my fear of like, I've got to keep everything close to my chest, and I got to find the sponsor, and I got to find the source, and I got to be sharing my story. I don't. My story will be told by 1,000 voices if I share theirs. And that's, yeah, it's ego again, boys. We know it trips us up.
No, but hey,
And
let me jump in real quick because I want to share something, and that I think is really. You said that what you gain, we gain just as much as you do, right? By having you on the podcast and having these conversations, we gain, and whoever listens to this gains. And then so it's a reciprocal synergistic benefit as I see it. And
yeah,
absolutely, the rising tide raises all ships. When you create a team and a high performing team, everyone has to be getting after it. And all of us are doing it for the same reason. I don't care, man, if you have 1 million followers and I don't have any, whatever. I don't care, man. The ultimate goal is to raise money and awareness and help people. That's it. So as a collective, that's what we try to do.
Mm-hmm.
well, here's my final thing I'll say on this, where I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. When I go across Canada, we're stopping in 13 major cities, and I know at some point, Satch, you're going to be where I am. It's just going to happen.
Yeah.
And I want you to be one of the speakers at the 13 major events. I want you to stand up in front of that crowd and be that inspirational voice. And if it's more than once, fantastic. I want you to be that person telling your story. And I'm going to stand back and probably try to hydrate and rest. And I want you to share your story, and I want to share your cause. So if we can make that happen, let's do it.
For sure. I mean, listen, man, I appreciate that. And I think we'll make that happen. And I think, look, it is, for me, when you say that, I appreciate it and I understand the impact that has. But whatever you need from me, I'm there. So it doesn't even, it could be speaking, it could be what, like, I mean, you could ask me whatever, it doesn't really matter. If I'm free, I'll do it. And the same thing
Awesome.
goes, look, I'm planning a 3-city tour of the gala um, after the summer in the fall, and we're going to be hitting Toronto, Ottawa, and Halifax, 3 cities. So if you're free and available, by all means, you're part of that too, right? And I want only, I have a vision, like I always do, and there's something that I realized after having this fundraiser gala, that there is a need for what we just did. Because every
Yeah.
single person that was there, 130 people from all different communities, they weren't veterans and first responders. There was a small number of them, but there were a mixture of communities there that were taking in the wisdom from all the people that were there. And it felt like a vibe, man. It was like an awesome experience. So I think there is something that we have found in this experience that we can take to other cities across the country over the next year or 2 or 3. And we're gonna, hopefully over the next. I mentioned this to Corey on the last one. Is like, what's the end game for this? I go, Vancouver Convention Center, 100,000 people. Like, why not? Or however
Yeah.
many people the Vancouver Convention Center holds, 10,000. I don't know, whatever it was, right? But the
Why
point is,
not?
That's what the end game is, man. We have amazing Canadians in this country doing amazing things for other people, and not looking for any sort of popularity or anything, but we're just doing it for good reasons. And I think there are these people that need to be highlighted and their messages need to be shared. So I'm trying to figure out over the next 5 or 10 years how to do that, not only on the podcast, but on conventions, conferences, all these different types of things. So anyways, my 2 cents.
Awesome.
Yeah.
We're gonna a wave of change.
Yeah, man. We do it together.
Matt, I wanted to ask a real quick question here just before we wrap this up, because I feel that I would be remiss if I didn't bring an important support in your life into this. But how has your wife Nicole's role changed from the first time to this time, or has it?
Well, yeah, Corey, I always say to you, ask these amazing questions. Like I don't know where these things come from, but they come. So last time she didn't get the credit she deserved. Point blank. The problem with these things is she's always going to be in the background because she's not the person on the bike. She's not the person running. But let me make it very clear that Satch knows this. The support person, not only on the road, but in your life, deserves just as much credit. And if you look at Heroes Unleashed, she's the co-founder. But Matt, you're the guy running. You're the guy riding. Man, she's put up with some crazy stuff, like, you know, my moods and my quirks. Yeah, she's like, when I think about it, man, like she drove 12,500
Yeah.
kilometers at 25 kilometers an hour.
Yes.
You know, like, it boggles my mind, and her job's harder than mine. So, because she has to do without any attention or applause, she gets nothing. She just stands there quietly, and she'll say to me once in a while something like, you know, she'll say it, and I can't like quote what she says, but I get a sense of like, you know what, she deserves more. She deserves more attention. She deserves more credit. So this time, with my hand on my heart, I told her it has to be about you this time as well, Nicole, and you have to enjoy this. I can tell you, boy, she didn't enjoy the first time. It wasn't pretty. I mean, she was hauling suitcases upstairs and fixing flat tires and putting cream on my ass because it was bleeding. And I'm going to be really blunt. Like, that was her existence for 100 days. So this time I hope she gets a bunch of the spotlight.
Awesome. I wanted to make sure that we highlighted her before we go here.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
I was just going to say, have her on the podcast one day, because I think me and Saj both agree.
Nice.
The support people behind us, I mean, they have an interesting story to tell, and it should be told.
Yeah,
Man,
we'll figure that out.
a lot of things that happen won't happen without the supports.
Yeah.
It's straight up.
No.
We'll figure that out. We'll have to have Nicole and Julie on at the same time to have a conversation.
That'd be amazing. Awesome.
Okay, guys. Such, I'll start with you. What do you got going on? How can people support you moving forward?
Yeah, so I got my big run starting on June 5th, which is Global Running Day. I'll start running 60 kilometers a day for 52 days. Most of it will be in the Vancouver area and various different cities. I'll trek out to Edmonton, run from Edmonton to Calgary in July, and then we'll fly out to Toronto, run from Toronto to Ottawa. And if we can make it happen, fly out to Halifax and do that as well, and then fly all the way back home and then finish off the 60K in 52 days. So that's the short term. And then we're also planning, so I've brought another person on the team, Helen. She's a business partner as it relates to the events and the event planning that we have going on. So stay tuned for a lot of that sort of in the next couple months. We're rebranding the website. So the website's going to have a full look in the next couple weeks. And I've started a foundation, the Such in Motion Foundation. So any donation that gets sent, you can send it to, well, once the website's up, there'll be a link on the website where you can make a donation. You can get a Canadian tax receipt through that. And yeah, stay tuned for the fall. We're going to have some awesome events. So it's going to be good times.
Awesome. And Matt, for you, I want to make sure everybody can get a hold of you and see what you're doing and your charities. Why don't you let everybody know how they can do that?
So the big thing for us this year is we've got a new website that is above and beyond just this one event. It's heroesunleashed_ca. Sorry, that's the Instagram. It's heroesunleashed.ca on the if you do a search. It's also in the bio of my Instagram. Mm-hmm. We're going to start on May 11th. I'm going to cycle probably close to 10,000 kilometers, and I'm going to do thousands of push-ups, thousands of burpees. I'm going to hike, run, row, yoga. I'm not just going to cycle. I'm going to move across Canada. We're going to inspire adults to take that first transformative steps towards a healthier, fitter, happier life. And we're going to fuel that engine of change using the purpose of helping these kids through the Little Warriors Charitable Foundation. So the whisper is back. We're going to turn it into a roar, and we're going to transform as many lives as we can as we go. And I'm hoping to run by Satch or ride by Satch and high five them as I go, and support each other along the way.
Yeah, man.
Absolutely. That's super awesome. And just a shill for us, remember to like, subscribe, and comment to help us out. From myself, Corey, and Such here at the Third Perspective Podcast, Love having you on, Matt. Thank you very much. And from everybody listening, think of who your support person is and give them a thanks today. From all of us here, thanks very much, guys.
Thank you, guys.